Hey there, y'all. Welcome. Today, my guest is Shreyasee Camley. Did I say it right?
Yeah, close enough.
Close. And she is a former client of mine. And I wanted to invite her on just to give you all a little insight from the client perspective into how the program works, what we do. So, welcome, first and foremost. Thank you for being here. And I imagine the first question that people have is, did you lose weight? And if so, how much?
I did. I lost about 15 pounds from when I started working with you to now, actually. So, yeah, more than 16 weeks, but that was more so because of me not being able to make it, but
Gotcha.
make
Yeah.
session. So, yeah.
You had a lot of life going on, which
Yeah.
is allowed, right? People
Right.
want to
Yeah.
wait until they have the perfect set of circumstances, but you can't foresee the future, even if you think, oh, X time will be the right time. Like now is
Right.
always the right time because
Right.
life is going to happen whether you're working on this or not. So let's take people back to before we started working together. Where were you in trying to lose weight? What were you doing? How is that working?
Sure. So, before I started working with you, I had just kind of a few months before that, I had gotten out of a crazy stressful job, which had me stress eating, and it was probably the first time I knew I was emotionally eating, but couldn't stop myself. I'd still eat. So I'd put on any pounds that I had lost prior to the job getting insanely stressful. So, and then after, so I got a break from the job, and then I started was like, okay, I need to focus on weight loss, and it was almost like a panic, right? Like, oh my God,
Mm.
I can't, what way do I go? I mean, I know, yes, eating healthy, I don't want to, and the thought of like, okay, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to weigh myself every day, and cause that. But it would basically be looking up healthy foods, healthy recipes, which is always good. But
Mhm.
then, constant like weight loss videos. And once you search something on YouTube, the recommendations keep coming. And then you almost want to try everything, hoping that there's a magic bullet that will allow you to quickly lose weight. And there isn't necessarily. So that's kind of where I was. It was just like a big panic per se.
Yeah. So you were doing
And
a lot of work towards losing weight, but it was all inside your head,
exactly,
which doesn't
exactly.
actually, as much as
Right.
I talk about mindset, like just doing stuff inside your head
Yeah.
generally
Right.
usually doesn't actually, you have
Right.
to implement it.
Right. Well, I was, yeah, yeah, I have to implement it. And I was eating better than I was before, and I
Mhm.
was exercising more, but like, yeah, there was more work in my head than there was on the outside. And
Yeah.
that, yeah, anyway, the stress wasn't good. Let me put it that way. That it
Yeah.
doesn't help.
Yeah. 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 And
No.
that's one of the things we talked about is I think for some people, the stress of trying to figure out the perfect way to lose weight and needing to lose weight, oh my God, like that can actually bump up your cortisol, which can interfere with weight loss. So
Yeah.
sometimes stressing out about it too much can actually make it harder, which
Mm-hmm.
seems kind of counterintuitive. I think we think stressing out is like the path to success, but
It's not.
no, no. All right. So, can you tell folks, like, if you had a friend who was thinking about doing it, how would you explain to them what we did? Because there were no burpees, there were no
No,
meal plans. So, what
no.
did we do and how was that helpful?
I think it was honestly just, I think, you had a set of tools, right? Now, some resonated with me more than others. And the ones like the motivational triad, where like how our primitive brain was programmed to think, and like how we need the opposite if we want to do weight, like, and that really, whenever, like, it's like, well, in the primitive world, you probably don't want to spend our energy because we were scavenging for food. It wasn't, you didn't go to the grocery store, there was no grocery stores. And now, and like that, whenever I park my car, whether I go to a mall, whether I go to work, it just pops in my brain, and I like park farther and I walk because I need to, walk more. I can't
Yeah.
do what my primitive brains, right? Like, so there's some tools that resonate more than others. So that one did. Go through tools, but then it's just like the checking in every week, what went well, what went didn't, and just being able to talk to someone, right? Like, or I remember one time we talked about, well, okay, yesterday I was just insanely hungry, and I don't know why. And then, you literally wrote down everything I ate, when I ate it, and it was like, okay, well, you probably shouldn't have had like just carbs in the morning because that's just that triggered everything from there on, right? So
Mhm.
it was just, it's like that, having someone to talk to and having someone who's gone through it. Because otherwise, I mean, I don't know, like it's just then someone lecturing you, right? It's not real. How should I, and being, it's not real. And then the EFT, I mean, I'm not new to EFT. That helps, right? Like those tools help, and inserting them at different points, I guess is what it is. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of what this journey is, right? But like as you go through it, like, you go through the tools, you go through that, you go through like having someone to talk through it. You share some stuff that's worked for other people, which is good too. And it just kind of lessens the panic, I guess is what it is, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd love to say, hey, every time I talk to you, I went and weighed myself and I magically lost 2 pounds, but that's
That
not
would
how
be
this works.
awesome.
That's not how this works, right? You have to put in the work, you have to start eating better,
Mhm.
and you have to like maintain exercise, and it has to, you have to maintain exercise. And one of the things I did on my own was, Fitness Pal, and I didn't pay for anything. I just started it and just started tracking what I was eating.
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
and sometimes I'd come talk to you about it, sometimes I wouldn't need to talk to you about it, right? But then I could go back and be like, well, I ate this piece of cake, and know when I did or whatever. That type of a scenario. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how it was. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So you feel like the EFT was really helpful for somebody that hasn't tried that before, or maybe they've heard of it and they've used it, but they never thought of it for weight loss. Can you
Yeah,
explain a little bit how and why that works, what your theory is?
my personal theory, now this is just me, right? Like I
Yeah.
think it really helped take the anxiety out of weight loss, right? Like,
Mm,
I mean, I
mhm.
love to just lose all the weight I need to lose in a day, but that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And I think I wasn't new to EFT because I've used EFT as a technique for anxiety before,
Mm,
and
mhm.
it allows you to calm yourself down and then think through. I just, like a lot so calm yourself down enough so that when you go and there's a choice, maybe a donut or whatever, you can have whatever in your situation, right? And I think some of it too, we did EFT, and then I forget the other tools that with it, the one that you create the new memory.
Oh,
um
the hacking reality.
Hacking reality, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that too, like going back and just thinking through like what could have caused this. There was a trigger. I wasn't born overweight.
Right,
I
right.
I wasn't born overweight. When did this start? Just going back in history, trying to look and see if there's patterns, right? And then the EFT calms you down because just going back and thinking of like when did this start, and like for me personally, it would have set a panic in me had I not been tapping on the meridian points to calm the body down. So I think that's what that how that really helps. And
Yeah.
it's a tool that you don't once you learn it, you learn it. You can keep going with it.
Yeah. I think somebody, actually, the person who taught me EFT said the hardest thing about EFT after you learn it is remembering to do it. Which is
Yes.
again where like meeting
Yeah.
somebody weekly helps because the repetition of doing
Right.
it, you're more
Mm.
likely to remember that that's a tool in your arsenal and how to do it in a crisis point. So, yeah, it's really, really good. So, catch everybody up. We kind of talked about the before and the during. Where are you now? What are the things? Is there anything that you haven't mentioned that you're really taking forward that you feel like is helpful, whether it's for weight loss or just for life?
Um, I think just somewhere to talk to me. One of the things that happened, like you said, life happens, right?
Mhm.
Life happens, and a lot of life happened to me while I was going through this process. But one of the things I do remember is, I had gone on vacation when I was working with you, and I came back, and I was like, well, I couldn't do intermittent fasting because I'd wake up at 4, and then I'd be hungry by 8, and because we were, you know, like body time was completely off because I went to Hawaii, which was 6 hours behind where I was. And then I said, so I don't, I only eat a 12-hour window, but that I usually eat 16. And I was feeling so down about it. I didn't eat perfectly because where I went there was no such thing as vegetables apparently. And you just said, well, and just having someone to talk to, like to come back and just say, okay, well, you went on vacation to have a be on vacation. Like, what is the point of like going to Italy and not trying their pasta, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have to be able to do that, right? And I think I had maintained my weight despite all my obstacles.
Mhm.
If you, well, what I considered obstacles, and honestly, it was just being on vacation and not gorging down on every sweet that was there, right? Which was a win. It's just in my book, I wanted to magically lose 10 pounds on vacation because because I went to a tropical
Yes.
state, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And would be able to walk, and it just wasn't. So I think that's another thing that, like, I always like I'm on vacation right now, and I have that in my mind. Like, well, I've always wanted to try this breakfast place, and it's like I'm kind of hungry. Okay, I'm gonna go try the breakfast place, right? And because
Yeah.
it's not life, right? You can't just like you can't work 24/7, you can't not enjoy life 24/7. And I think that's one thing that, you and I talking about it, and I think you have a blog about it too. That it's really ingrained in me. It's like, okay, it's okay, right? I mean, like I could not eat anything, but I could just be perfect all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to lose 30 pounds in a month. Like that's number one. Nobody should do that too. It's not healthy, right? But, and it's not going to happen. So enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, yeah. And it's that
Yeah.
balance too, right?
Hmm.
Is sometimes people use a vacation as an opportunity or an excuse to go
To gorge.
completely
Yes.
crazy. And I don't
Mm,
recommend that, right? Like most places, they have vegetables and, fish or
yeah.
like whatever healthy thing you're eating at home.
Yeah.
Most places, they have that too. So, we want to try to keep up our healthy patterns, but if there truly is something that only exists in that place, right? Like,
Hmm.
don't go to France and do no carb. Please, like, have a
Yeah.
baguette, have a
Yeah.
croissant, like,
Yeah.
do the thing, but don't go from, I don't know, like where I live in Florida to the other side of Florida and pretend like I must eat cake every day because we don't have cake where I'm from, right? If it's the specialty, if it's something that's truly local, if it's part of the occasion. And you're right, we can't be perfect all the time. And
Mm-mm.
also being willing to, when you get back, and you're like,
Sure.
oh, I thought I was going to lose weight, but I maintained, or I thought I was going to maintain, but I gained, not using that as the reason to give up, being like,
Hmm.
oopsie, okay, but I know how to do this, right? Like, let me
Hmm.
get back on track. And there's also a difference if somebody travels every week for work, then okay, maybe we don't try every local delicacy every single week. But if it's once or twice a year, it might
Hmm.
mess you up for a week, but you just come back, you get back on track, you know how to do it, not the end of the world. So,
Right.
very good.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
all right, fantastic. Anything I should have asked you about this ahead of time to give you time to prepare, but usually a lot of my clients are business owners. I give them a chance to mention their business, but if you have any kind of like nonprofit, anything you want to shout out, okay, just figured I'd
No.
give you the opportunity. Yeah, I should
No,
have
thank you,
warned
but
you
no.
ahead of time in case you'd come up
Yeah.
with something.
Mm.
But and for those of you who are watching, if you're like, yeah, okay, I've been watching a lot of these videos, maybe I'm going to actually do it. I would just invite you to go ahead, go to my website, lisaduke.net, and from there, think it's called Start Here or Start Now or Start or something like that, but there's only so many menu options. Click on it, find the one where you can schedule an initial consultation. You and I will talk live about what's going on with you. If I feel like you're a fit for the program, and it's not 100% sales, I really do. Like I had somebody come on one time who wanted me to tell her exactly what I eat down to the ounce and teach her which foods are healthy. And, like I'll refer you out if I'm like legitimately that's not my approach. That's not what I do. I try to point people in the right direction. But for those who, you know, the potential client feels like they would be a fit, I feel like they would be a fit. That's the first step, is that free complimentary consultation. Get some information on your background. You get to ask all your questions. We'll go over pricing and just go from there. So thank you so much to the viewer and to you for being here today. And I will see everybody next time.